There's a lot that's gone down here with the flotilla. So the attack has officially happened. We were kind of looking at this because there were European workers that had said, if you touch one hair on the head of any of these people, we are shutting down the supply chain. We are cutting off, and workers can do that. So that was in Italy, that was in Spain, and that's why they were able to assemble so many different crews. This was the crew that was assembled. It was 497 participants, and they were from all these different countries. They all were traveling together on 44 different vessels, including a warship from Spain, another one from Italy. I believe Greece had some backing there. Turkey, everybody was helping this out. And yet, knowing that they were moving into the danger zone, we knew that Israel was going to do something. And lo and behold, they did. Here's the tweet that went out. This is the official emergency was called. This is from the Freedom Flotilla Coalition Twitter account. Emergency: Israel has attacked the global Sumud flotilla. Unarmed people of conscience abducted in international waters. This is piracy. This is kidnapping. The flotilla did not break any laws. What is unlawful is genocide, the deadly blockade of Gaza, the use of starvation as a weapon of war, and the piracy of civilian vessels and abduction of all those on board. And then, yeah, this is well, let's look at one of the shots, because they were filming as much as they could from all of the vessels to get us this footage. This one actually came through. This one's actually pretty disturbing.
Open the door! Everybody, hands up! Hands up! Show me your hands! Everybody! Close your eyes and put your passport into the table. Do not touch your phones. Hands up and face down. What are you doing, Mr. What?
Now, we know this is totally a human rights violation. Here, for the reference, you guys, this is the United Nations Human Rights, literally saying any attempt to block the flotilla would constitute a grave violation of international law. So this is a crime that Israel is committing. We knew they were going to do it. They sent every signal that they were going to do it. The crews were ready for this to happen, but yet the Guardian and other horrible Western outlets still use language like this. And this is a shot of one of them being handcuffed, their hands tied and put in a circle. And here it is. Listen to this language, guys. This is how they do it. This is how they brainwash people who aren't paying attention. Is they say Israeli naval forces board pro-Palestinian flotilla 75 miles from Gaza. Greta Thunberg has been arrested, taken into custody after 6 of the flotilla boats were boarded. So they're saying boarded. They're saying they're not saying what it is. These are crimes. This is a terrorist group committing a crime, and there's not one mention of that. Here's Greta herself. We got this footage. This is her being kidnapped right here. They let her put on her sweater, and later she's cuffed like everyone else and put in a circle. And so what we know right now, Jay, and we'll get to the reaction from the workers in a moment. But first, I want to I did find this last minute right before we came on the air here. But apparently, and there's been conflicting information about how many of them were captured and how many did not get captured. But this came out this morning, and this might be the most accurate report we have to date, that there is one boat. It's called the Makino, and it was reported to have escaped the maritime blockade and to have stopped inside Palestinian territory waters near Gaza's coast before contact with the vessel was lost. So according to this article, one came through. This is the first time since Israel imposed a naval blockade on Gaza's waters in 2009 that a mission has reached closer. than 70 nautical miles from the territory. So we don't know the current situation with the Makino, but apparently, and the more I'm looking at this, Jay, it seems like most of them were captured, and that's happening now. So let me get your thoughts on seeing all this, and then we'll get to some of the reactions from the European countries that were involved.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are I feel like rules should apply equally to everybody. We shouldn't have one country that is above all rules or two countries that are above all rules. And it does seem like, to be honest with you, in this current day and age, rules do not apply to America or to Israel. But in this case, like we are seeing like arguably the clearest like violation. I mean, I don't know, like they're starving people over there. So like we've seen plenty of clear violations, like of human rights from the Israeli government. I guess this is just another check mark, on the list of all the ways they've committed crimes against humanity. And, when I watch that video of the soldiers boarding the ship and pointing guns at all those folks, I think to myself, if I was a terrorist soldier in that situation, I would likely have at least some form of situational awareness that the people on this boat, in all likelihood, there's a 99.99999% chance that there's no weapons on them or they don't pose a threat, because if they did, they know that Israel could completely annihilate them, and they know Israel is going to be checking everything they're bringing over. So why would all these people sign up for a suicide mission to go deliver dangerous guns, or dangerous weapons to Palestinians? So I wouldn't approach them with my gun out pointing at them. If I was sent to board that ship, I would have said, hey guys, we're doing a routine check over here. And I would be aware that footage is going to go out, like, of this interaction. So do I want to look even worse in front of the world, or would I at least want to have some form of situational awareness? And the impression any normal person gets from watching that video is, what the hell is wrong? Like, with these soldiers, they're literally boarding a ship and pointing guns at volunteers who want to feed starving people. They could have just boarded the ship and said, hey guys, we're doing some checks over here because we want to make sure that there isn't any illegal weapons and that you're following the law. But the point is to intimidate. They know that they're not going to face consequences for their actions, I guess. And so at this point, they don't care about the perception of the outside world of them, because I guess they feel like, they can influence the media, in their direction. That's a gentle way of saying it. So, it's so insane that they think that this is going to work. And in my opinion, I still believe that we are heading towards, I don't know. I just don't understand how the American government can continually justify support of this entity. It does feel like they may eventually do a rug pull on Israel and stop supporting them, but we double down so much, I just can't see it. And, under this Trump administration, he's been so bought off by Netanyahu, like, I don't know, but they're losing the support of the American people. So my question is, how are they going to continue to justify this? Because eventually the pushback is going to get strong unless they find a way to radicalize the American population against the Muslim world. So that's why I'm personally fearful of some sort of bigger false flag that's directly blamed on a country in the Middle East or Islam in general. But without that, I just don't understand how how our government can continue to support Israel, because they are quickly losing the support of the American people, and their actions aren't actions of an entity that wants to keep that popular support. Because they can try to buy up all the social media platforms, they can try to control the narrative, but at this point, there's so much evidence out there. I don't see that they'll be able to turn the tide unless they completely change course, which I don't think they're capable of doing, because so much of the population is bought in to this insane greater Israel project. That's never going to happen, in my opinion. So, yeah.
So I think one way to understand the psychology again of Zionism, and I think that being a soldier in that situation, you understand yourself to be somebody you don't win because you're right. You win because you figure out a way to win. So walking in there, you're not thinking. So the stuff you said, Jay, walking in there, you're not trying to go for being right. In other words, we're here we're here for a safety check. We want to. That's being correct. They're in the game of winning and doing it by whatever means necessary. So the way they do it is they say something is what it is, and then if you disagree, then they win because they said it. So if they say you're a terrorist, you're a terrorist. If they say we told you not to do this, you did it, therefore you're the one breaking the law. So they're going to come in with their guns. They're going to be yelling. They're going to be blasting because in there, that's the way you win. You don't win by trying, because if they try to be right, they would lose because they're not right, because they're wrong. So the way you win is you say something is the way it is, and then you just double down.
There is a caveat. Israel can't win anything without America's support, and right now they do have the full support of the American government. However, the American people are in the process of turning against them, and yes, our government ignores us all the time, but they at least have to, give us hope. They at least have to give us a little hope. And I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine it being sustainable for us to continue supporting Israel as most of the population turns against them and the rest of the world is insane. The only way that changes is if there's some insane false flag that turns Americans against Islam in general, or maybe Iran or Palestinians. Because aside from that, you got to I know you agree with me, right? Israel would collapse in a matter of weeks if it was clear that America would not come in and support Israel regardless. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yes, except I'd be more if we decided overnight we're not going to support this anymore. They have something called the Samson option, which they have. There's other techniques they can use before going out. You know what I'm saying? So it's not. I
agree. In my opinion, I think there's a lot of radicalized people in the population. I would guess that in leadership, they are actually more logical and they do prioritize self-preservation, and they think this threat is going to help them self-preserve. But would they actually destroy the world? The people in leadership? I don't know, maybe, maybe, but I think it makes sense that if you want to intimidate someone, that you do make people think that you're willing to do anything and to blow up the world. So, but we have to take that threat seriously. I just personally don't see how Israel could last that much longer, if we decided to pull all of our support for them. But that's just my opinion.
Well, here's the response from the workers who, as we told you guys, the workers, they said before the flotilla even left, even took off, they said, if you touch one hair on these people, and now there's 497 of them being touched, minus one boat with one vessel that we don't know of that might have made it through. Other than that, the workers said, we are cutting off. We are cutting off supply. And that was Italy and Spain. Well, guess what? Colombia decided to get in the mix too. Look at this. Colombia denounced the trade agreement with Israel after the interception of the flotilla. Good for Colombia. After the Israeli military intercepted the ships of the global Sumud flotilla, which was heading to the Gaza Strip with humanitarian supplies, Colombia immediately denounced the free trade agreement with the Middle Eastern country. This was announced on October 2nd by Colombian President Gustavo Petro. He added that as a result of the incident, 2 Colombian citizens who were on the ship as part of the flotilla were detained in neutral waters. So they have a personal stake in it. And that's why you have to get it's a gathering of people from everywhere. And this is where everyone's affected by this. So you have that. You have Spain. You have the dock workers in Italy. They're all saying we are not going, and they control that. They control the supply chain. So Israel is going to suffer from this economically, at least. So not from the U.S., but from the other countries that have power as well. So we're not the only ones that are responsible for their they're not collapsing economically. That we're not the only ones. There are other countries that can do it too, and they're stepping up. Here's the response in the street from multiple places after hearing the news of the flotilla being attacked. There we go. I'll turn the volume down. You see all the countries in the streets right now, specifically that are protesting this flotilla attack.
Yeah, and for those who can't see, sorry, it says Italy, Spain, Germany, Turkey, Belgium, and Greece, from left to right and top to bottom. So there's reactions all over the world to this insanity, thankfully.
Yes, and we even had some more ships going out. I don't know how much good this is going to do, but it really shows that people are willing to do whatever it takes, and it's really cool to see this. I don't know how far they're going to get, but we saw this video too.
And eventually, people in America are going to start reacting too. So what's going to happen, like in Israel, like when that comes to America? Because they're losing the rest of the world. They're losing us. And like, that's why I'm personally fearful of a big false flag. I think we should be on the lookout for it. They hinted that radical Islam may have been involved with Charlie Kirk's assassination, but it wasn't overtly blamed on them, and there wasn't evidence, of it pointing to them. So I do think, if they are planning to double down on Israel and keep going with Israel, that we're gonna see a false flag attack of some kind. I don't see any other way they can keep this this insanity going without that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. We haven't seen the last of what, I like to be a fly on a wall on what they're planning, because the stuff they put out there, it's like, it's so incriminating on its own, but I'd like to see what they're not putting out there. What is that false flag? Because you can be assured that's not going to be, there's not going to be a videotape of them planning that one. So,
but I don't want to be all negative. I can hope that maybe the plan, is to de-escalate, and sell off the Israeli assets to the other Gulf states to find. I don't know. I hope that they can find that they're not going to do that, because if there is a false flag, my guess is it's not only going to be used to justify the war, it's going to be used to justify a dystopian surveillance state over here. It's going to be used to justify the crackdown on free speech, and it'll be used to justify a whole lot of stuff if it does happen. So I'm hoping and praying that that's not the way this goes, but I think there are other possibilities. So I don't want to come off as negative, but I do want people to be aware, if they do plan on pushing the Greater Israel Project, there's no way to do that without a gigantic false flag to stir up support for Israel. There's just no way.
Okay, let me take a moment to introduce you to our good friends over at World Harvest Food Bank right here in LA. World Harvest has been serving families across Los Angeles for 18 years now, and they started with this simple idea. Everyone deserves access to healthy, affordable food no matter what they're going through. With their Cart with a Heart program, families can walk away with a full cart of groceries, fresh produce, dairy, meat, and pantry supplies for just a $50 contribution. That's for the entire cart. That same cart would cost over $300 at a typical grocery store. At World Harvest, everyone is welcome. They don't ask for income verification, ID, or any paperwork. No. Basically, their doors are open to anyone who's doing their best, but just needs a little extra push to get by. If you're an Angelino like me, the times have been tough here. First with all the union strikes, the LA fires, and now the ICE raids going on. It seems like we're living in a constant state of uncertainty. And that's why it's so important to support local charities like World Harvest, because they aren't just helping the community. They're an essential function in its very survival. World Harvest is located at Venice and Arlington. And right now, you can use our special discount code THL20 for 20% off your contribution amount at checkout. And if you're not in the LA area, you can still help out with a $50 donation, which will provide a full cart of food for a family by going to worldharvestfoodbank.org. unfiltered.org or scan the QR code for more info. Or you can just spread the word. Follow them online. Let people know they're here for them. Because at the end of the day, it's about providing choice, access, and relief without barriers. World Harvest Food Bank. End hunger now.